Just a few miles away from BWI, or Baltimore Washington International Airport, is where we find meteorologist Mike Seidel. And Mike, those storms not too far away from you right now.
Yeah, Jackie, let me just update you. The number of flight cancellations at just over 2,100. Flight delays at about 5,000 plus, but not 26,000, thankfully. But it's going to be another rough travel night in the Northeast. All three New York City airports also under a ground stop. Jackie mentioned the airports here, Dulles, Reagan, and BWI. Also all the way down to Atlanta, which had 2 ground stops yesterday. We ran into trouble. Took us over 3.5 hours extra travel time to get up here. So if you're traveling anywhere up and down the East Coast or coming into the East Coast, major hubs, Atlanta, also the New York City airports have those ground stops at least till 5:30, if not 6 o'clock. Behind me, you can see the skies darkening up to the north and west. We're now under a tornado watch. That tornado watch goes till 9 for the Baltimore, D.C. area. Storms are just to our west. You can see those coming in. They're all warned for severe thunderstorms. We did mention that one tornado warning out by Dulles. I just checked their latest stop, gust to 23. They'll probably get a higher gust. But these storms to the west, Martinsburg, West Virginia, gusted to 44. Hagerstown, Frederick area. Frederick gusted just a little while ago to 46 miles an hour. So that's, at least in those areas, a good sign. That kind of wind's not going to cause damage, but that's just at those 2 airports. In between, there could have been higher wind gusts in 60 to 70 mile an hour range. We've already had about 100 unfiltered wind damage reports. So Jackie, we'll be standing here until it's not safe. We've got our safe place to go as the storms approach here. They're moving generally in our direction at about 40 miles an hour and will affect the entire Baltimore, D.C. area, and then move quickly across the bay out towards the beaches, the Delaware beaches, parts of the South Jersey shore under a tornado watch, Jackie, until 11, and they'll be out there by around 9 o'clock. So they're going to be out of here by about 7:30 or 8, and we'll know at that point just what kind of impact we had as far as power outages from trees down on power lines.
Yeah,
Jackie?
I imagine you're going to be undergoing the warning before you know it there. We'll check back in with you in just a little bit. Meteorologist Mike Seidel live near Baltimore. But right now, we want to get to meteorologist Mike Seidel. He is in Baltimore. He's got the latest on the severe weather there and the travel delays. Mike?
Yeah, Jackie, another horrible travel day up and down the East Coast. All 3 airports here in the Baltimore, D.C. area, the New York City airports, Philadelphia, Charlotte, Atlanta, under ground stops. So basically nobody is going anywhere. And this is why you can see what we have at BWI right now, just outside of BWI. Very heavy rainfall. They gusted to 43 miles an hour. Now, Reagan National just gusted to 52. Fortunately, those wind gusts are typically not going to cause much in the way of trees down on power lines. But we've had wind damage and trees down across parts of western Maryland, out around Hagerstown and Washington County. Also some trees down I saw in the storm reports in Frederick County. So the line continues to move through. We're under a severe thunderstorm warning here in this part of Baltimore County, over to PG County, parts of Montgomery County, and this extends until 6:30 this evening. So about another 25 minutes or so, and then that will be it for the severe threat. There are a few showers behind it, but so far so good, at least in this area. We haven't had the kind of wind that you would think about, oops, trees down, power outages, but there is power out. Jackie mentioned that earlier, hundreds of thousands, including a lot in West Virginia, parts of Western Virginia, as you get out towards Staunton and the Shenandoah Valley. So our forecast, again, a tornado watch here in the Baltimore, D.C. area. Right now goes until 9. We'll see if they cut that back from west to east as the severe threat lessens. And after that, we're going to be done pretty much for the evening. Just a few showers overnight. That's it. So, Jackie, so far so good here in the BWI area. But the bottom line is the real headache is in the skies and at the airports like we saw yesterday. We had a ground stop in Atlanta. We got on the plane, sat on the tarmac as a ground stop was issued to BWI, and that put us in here about 3 hours and 15 minutes late. Just to give you an idea, these ground stops basically stop travel from those airports. And when you have about 10 or 12 airports on the East Coast under ground stops, basically nothing's moving.
Right.
So that backs up everything, and eventually they have to cancel more flights. In fact, we found out, we got in around 11 o'clock last night. We found out later at the hotel as a guest checked in, she was supposed to fly back to Atlanta. The flight attendant said they were flying back to Atlanta. Well, they ended up eventually canceling the flight. So it's a real headache tonight. And again, tomorrow, as everybody gets shuttered onto those flights tomorrow. And that fills up the planes. It is summertime, so there are not many seats to start with.
Yeah, really good point there, Mike. And, you know, this line of storms, you really can't get through it. You got to go around it or you got to wait till it passes you. And that's affecting so many of the airports into the east right now. Get comfortable after the storms move on through. Get yourself some good blue crab. Our meteorologist, Mike Seidel, is close to BWI, or Baltimore Washington International Airport. He's got the latest on that. Mike?
Well, Jackie, things have cleared out of here nicely. As you can see behind me, we've got some brightening as the sun goes down in the west-northwestern sky here in early August. We're still officially under the tornado watch, Baltimore, Anne Arundel County east. But west of here, Carroll County, western Maryland, northwestern Virginia, and into West Virginia, the tornado watch has been canceled early because the threat has moved east. Our concern now is certainly east of Baltimore across the bay, and we've got numerous warnings. Really concerned about the storms now heading into parts of Delaware. If you're at the beaches tonight, from Ocean City up towards Bethany, Rehoboth, and then especially in the Jersey Shore, because we have bow echo that produced wind gusts to 55 miles an hour at Philadelphia International the past hour. That's heading right towards the shore in Jersey, basically Cape May, north of Cape May, Atlantic City, up through Toms River, including Brick Township, those areas, and up towards the areas around Asbury Park. So that's on the way in the next hour or so. And again, batten down the hatches for wind gusts, potentially 70 miles an hour, trees and power lines, and more power outages. So far, power outages, let's check them for you. We'll get the latest update here from poweroutage.org, and we can tell you right now, here in the areas of Maryland, 130,000. We've got about 85 to 90,000, most of those in northern Virginia outside of D.C. So, Jackie, we've had trees and power lines blown down. The wind gusts at the airports haven't been that impressive, but you can see the rain it fell here for about an hour or so. At BWI, they picked up over an inch in an hour. They picked up a half an inch in just 10 minutes. So that's a very heavy rainfall rate, but our peak gust here, yeah, just 43 miles an hour, Reagan National 52. So the gust at the airports would not call to mind damage, but again, that's just at the airport. As they say, nobody lives at the airport. Although tonight, a lot of folks may be spending nights at the airport, with now over 1,400 flights canceled and 6,500 delays. And by the way, the ground stops continue at the three airports here, BWI, Reagan National, and Dulles, until the bottom of the hour. At that point, I assume they'll be lifted. Planes will start moving, but there's such a backlog because they've had a ground stop now for over 3, almost 4 hours. I assume there'll be more cancellations, and people will be rebooking on flights tomorrow and even into Wednesday. So a nightmare for flying up and down the East Coast again today. And now the storm's heading towards New York City, where ground stops continuing.
Yeah, not a lot you can do about the weather when it comes to those flights. You got to stay safe, and it's going to be a long night, I think, for a lot of those folks. Thanks so much. Meteorologist Mike Seidel there near BWI. So that might just track south of Baltimore, where we find our meteorologist Mike Seidel. He is there just outside of BWI. And when I say they're okay for now in Baltimore, I guess it depends on what your definition of okay is. If you're trying for air travel, not so okay. And if you got trees down in your yard, you're not so okay there either, Mike.
Or if your power's out. 132,000 plus customers, Jackie, without power in the state of Maryland. Most of those right along the PA line, the Mason-Dixon line, Carroll County, Baltimore County, over to Hartford County. By the way, Carroll County, which is just west and north of Baltimore, 56% of customers in Carroll County, that includes Westminster, and those areas are without power. We had some very heavy rain here at BWI, over an inch of rain, most of that falling in about 30 minutes. Otherwise, we just got treated to a double rainbow as the sun is setting over in the western sky. We still had rain between the sun and that area. That's how you get a rainbow. It's always 180 degrees from where the sun is. So our severe threat has moved now east across the Chesapeake Bay. Look out again on the Delaware beaches, the Maryland coast, and the Jersey Shore in the next hour or so. Storms headed your way with gusts potentially up to 70 miles an hour.
Get the latest out of the Baltimore metro area with meteorologist Mike Seidel. And Mike, how are things looking there now?
Well, things are quiet here now. We had the sun pop out. We had a double rainbow. And I'm looking at the FAA website, and they've updated now Baltimore, BWI, and Reagan National. The ground stop is now been extended till 8:30 Eastern. Dulles says 7:30, but it's already past 7:30. We'll see if that updates. Well, once they lift these ground stops, planes will start moving. But there's a huge log jam. We had a ground stop earlier at Atlanta, the world's busiest, Charlotte, the New York City airports, all three of those still under ground stops, as is Philadelphia. So anybody flying up and down the East Coast or trying to get into the East Coast or out of the East Coast, millions, literally millions are being impacted by this. As far as locally here, winds didn't gust too terribly strong at the airports. Top gust 52 at Reagan National. But outside of the airports, we had enough wind to knock down some trees and power lines, especially across the counties in northern Maryland, all the way from Hartford and Cecil, all the way to northern Baltimore County, up the JFX into Carroll County, and we have over 130,000 customers without power. But the severe threat has moved on. Still the risk of maybe a shower or thunderstorm overnight. This is the rain we had earlier here in Linthicum Heights, just outside of BWI and just off the BW Parkway. Very heavy rainfall. In fact, it fell at the rate of 2.5 inches an hour. It rained almost a half an inch, just about a half an inch in 10 minutes. But the winds were not an issue. There was a fair amount of lightning for about a half an hour, and that was it. So certainly not a major issue right here near BWI, but certainly in the area, in the Mid-Atlantic, we are going to be dealing with certainly more in the way of power outages, especially now as the storms head towards the beaches of Maryland, Delaware, and the Jersey Shore. Stay tuned and stay safe. The beach is one of the worst places to be with lightning.
I want to bring in meteorologist Mike Seidel, who's near BWI. And Mike, new storms around the D.C. metro, not going to help the situation any.
No, right now there's a ground stop at Dulles. It's storming there again. They didn't get hit very hard at the airport the first time around with a gust about 23, 24 miles an hour. Reagan gusted to 52, so more rain coming into the district inside the Beltway. But again, it's lightning and rain and no real severe threat, as the real threat has now moved off to the east. Power outages in Maryland, over 130,000 along those northern counties from Cecil to Hartford to northern Baltimore County. Carroll County, which is northwest of Baltimore, beautiful area out there if you can afford to find some land. They've got 56% of the customer base without power, so more than half the power is out there. Now we look forward to what's going on east of here. Storms heading down the bay towards Crisfield into Salisbury. Also storms heading towards the beaches. Look out Rehoboth down to Fenwick and Ocean City. And the Jersey Shore, a bit of a bow echo heading your way at about 40 to 50 miles an hour. We've got warnings out for these areas. And again, the major threat, as we've seen all day long now with over 400 wind damage reports, is straight line wind damage. And that's why we're concerned about trees, power lines, and more power going out. That's really the major impact by far. So far, only one reported tornado. It was really a landspout, and that was way out west. So it's all been about the straight line winds. Here at BWI, we gusted to 43 miles an hour. Here's the rain we picked up earlier. It did rain very, very hard. In fact, officially, they picked up 48/100ths of an inch in 10 minutes. So if you do the math, you can see that heavy rain. If you do the math, that's about 2.5 inches an hour if it rained that hard for the entire hour, but it didn't, and they picked up a little over an inch of rain. So now as we go back to Jackie, we're looking out towards the western sky, the northwestern sky, and look how just bright it is. Just those bright colors on the horizon as the sun sets, as we head towards sundown here outside of BWI. But just a real mess. I'm glad I'm not flying anywhere today, or it's going to be rough tomorrow. I'm checking flights tomorrow, and a lot of flights are already full because they had to book everybody, push them into tomorrow. It's also summertime, so planes are already packed to start with. So another rippling effect for the next day or two at the airports, especially up and down the East Coast.
It's a bummer, Mike. You can't get home. You're just going to have to stay there and enjoy some of that blue crab. Get your mallet ready, for sure. Thanks so much for
crab
that
cakes.
report, Mike.
More crab cakes.
Yeah, or crab
more
cakes.
Crab cakes.
They're so good. They really are so good. I don't know if you've ever had them there, Chris, but they are fantastic.